Hi, and welcome back to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants, the go-to podcast for holistic health seekers looking to harness the power of nature for health and healing. I'm Jen. I'm a passionate health educator, whole food plant-based culinary coach, and master herbalist. And I'm here with Dan, an exercise specialist and a wonderful master herbalist who brings his love of movement, herbs, and natural medicine to every conversation. So together we dive into the world of natural healing, combining traditional wisdom and modern science to help you achieve optimal health. So we're normally talking about plants. It is Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants. But today we're turning our attention to mindset because that is so important when it comes to natural healing. Setting your mind, which sounds very interesting. We think of the immune system as just this physical thing, white blood cells, antibodies, gut microbes, but our thoughts and our emotions strongly affect the immune system, and they're a huge part of the equation here.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, you're going to worry yourself sick. And you just think, oh, well, that's just what my mom always said, but that's not true.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it is true. So, stress, worry, fear, it all suppresses our immune function just as much as our if we ate like Twinkies every day or we didn't sleep. The body doesn't understand mental and physical stress. It groups everything in one category. All it knows is I'm stressed out, so I gotta release cortisol. And when I do that, this is gonna, mess with your immune function and even affects your hormones. But so yeah, you can wear yourself sick.
Yes, exactly. And we so disregard stress. I know I have for years and years and years. So, those of you who don't know my story, I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease in 2007, and I fought with doctors until 2013 when I had radioactive iodine, which I did not know at the time, switches you from one autoimmune disease to another autoimmune disease. But one of the things I'd never changed, even though I dialed into natural healing, trying to reverse things for myself, it took me until a year ago to actually pay attention to stress. And so our bodies, if we think about it, when man was first on the earth, what was causing stress? Um, it could have been some stress from, maybe not finding food, stress from predators, animals chasing you. Um, but it wasn't this stress that we have today, environmental stressors and things like that. Now, when we have this regular stress, day in and day out, traffic, office stress, family stress, taking care of aging parents, taking care of small children, trying to balance work, family, community, all that stuff. Our body doesn't know that we're not in danger from something. It still just senses stress, and it affects the HPA axis. So I'm just gonna get nerdy for a second. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Sometimes they add the T for thyroid. And so all of those are connected, your brain, your adrenals, and they're made to protect your body so that sugar goes into your blood so that you can run and fight and do all the things you need to do when you are in danger. So if we're under chronic stress, then we're constantly spitting out that sugar into the blood. And if you ever made sugar candy, what is it, rock candy? Those crystals, just imagine those sugar crystals floating through your blood. They're damaging arteries, they're damaging all of these different systems in your body, creating all this inflammation. And then that also weakens your immune system. It prevents you from repairing other things that are going on in your body. And then it can also change your microbiome, where 72% of our immune system lies in our gut. We don't want to mess up our gut microbiome.
Yeah, so this is why a lot of people they could be doing everything right. They could be eating well, they could be exercising, getting the sleep, but if they're stressed, they'll be like, why am I not getting better? It's because the stress can it can undo all your efforts. So I think it's why we teach, we teach when we're teaching routines or whatever. We're always talking about de-stressing. I think you and I, we have had a lot of time of stress because of our childhood, but a lot of people have had bad childhoods, bad marriages. And so it's something that we face. And I think that in America especially, it's almost like a badge of honor if your life is so stressed out and you're working 80 hours a week and you got a mortgage you can't pay. It's like that's just the American way. Your life is just a big bag of stress. And look, that is that's not how it should be, you
I
know?
like that you said that because I have had moments, now I work from home, but when I had an office job where people would come in and they would, spit off their checklist, and I don't know why they were sharing it with me anyway. Why? But okay, well, I have to leave now because I have to go do this, and this. And I already did this, and this. It's like seeing who can complete the most things in a day. And so it's just go, 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 push, push, push. And now we're in a 24/7, 365-day work experience, right? You can go have
Yeah.
anything you want at any time, night or day. There's people working all hours of the day and night, all 7 days. And like you said, it's like a badge of honor to see who can complete the most things. Where's the rest?
And you think about how sick we are in America. My God, everybody's got something going on, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, 93% of Americans are metabolically unwell. And when you look at the guidelines they used for those studies, this is a study out of North Carolina, um, the guidelines aren't even as strict as like what we would say is a healthy person. And so it's like, wow, how many people really, I mean, everybody literally is sick. I think 77% of Americans are overweight now. And
Yeah.
so we say, we can't fat shame and all that. We'll have to put this on another episode, but it's not fat shaming. Our bodies are not made to be that big. Your body, that's so much stress. Just being overweight is stress on the body. That's more stress. And so it's really out of control. We really, in my opinion, which this is totally off where we were going in this podcast, but we really need to go back. We need to go back to the way the world was before we were connected on the internet to everyone around the world at all times. We need to go back to our communities. We need to go back to growing our own food, eating real food, not the crap that's on a box. I have a client that I'm working with right now, and she said she was looking at the food they were eating and had to throw it all away. She was like, "This isn't food." And I was like, "Yes, most of the stuff in the grocery store isn't even qualified as food." So that's not even back. So let me get back to mindset. All those things add stress to the body. And when we're thinking, I have to do X, Y, and Z, I have to get through all these different things, you're also adding more stress to the body. And what does that do to your mind when you can't check off those things on your to-do list? Where's your mind?
Well, along with the mindset thing and the illness, there is a lot of people with what they call mental disorders, anxiety, depression. It's all correlated.
Right.
When I teach exercise, I teach that we have hard weeks, but then we have easier weeks. I mean, that's the first thing we learn is, yeah, you got to push hard sometimes, but if you're going to push hard sometimes you're going to have to not push hard. And you
Yeah.
have to balance it. But look, our lives are set up to push hard all of the time. And then people, well, they'll go on vacation, but then their vacations are stressful because it's like they can't even take a relaxing vacation. I know people, they'll go on vacation. Well, I got an itinerary. I'm going to do this and this. It's like, dude, that's not relaxing.
Modification.
You know, people don't
Right.
know how to disconnect and just chill out for an hour anymore. I strongly recommend deep breathing and meditation every day.
Every day. I'm so glad you said that. There was a time, like I said, I just started really learning to relax a year ago. There was a time where I was afraid to take time off of work, like
Mhm.
literally afraid. I was like, I can't take time off of work, because I have to work too hard to take the time off. I'm going to get too far behind coming back to work. And what am I going to do when I'm on vacation? I need to do something. I can't sit and relax. And so we've just trained our bodies not to do those things. And so thank you. But doing breaks throughout the day, slowing down. One of the things I teach in one of my classes is even resting before each meal. You know, we digest in a rested state. We can't be stressed. So eating in the car is terrible. Eating while you're playing a game on your phone or doing something on your phone, that's distracted eating, that's not paying attention to what you're doing, and you're not going to be digesting and absorbing your nutrients when you're doing things like that.
Yeah, I do agree. There's some people talking about breaks from social media, from your phone. Most people are on their phones or they're on social media all day long, and that is a stressor, believe it or not. That's stressor because anytime your brain is focused on something like that, it's stress. I don't think people understand. I'll say it one more time. De-stressing is actually unplugging from everything, going to a quiet room and relaxing and trying to breathe and try to clear the mind. That's the only way the body can let go and start to relax. You have to unplug it because we're plugged in 24/7.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's so important too. So let's talk a little bit more about mindset. So, like I said earlier, 72% of our immune system's in our gut. So if we have a dysregulated microbiome, an overgrowth of certain bacteria or viruses or anything like that, that's throwing everything off. And that's where our neurotransmitters are created as well. So thinking of serotonin and GABA, and they change about how we feel, whether we're calm or whether we're anxious. And so we do have to also pay attention to foods and lifestyle that affect our gut to affect those neurotransmitters. And stress can also do that. Stress creates inflammation in the gut as well. But we also have to, I'm trying to separate mindset from those neurotransmitters. Does this make any sense at all? Like, I'm thinking of, like, I want you to tell the story that Dr. Schultz told us, about mindset. Someone's going to the doctor, maybe they have cancer and they've gone to the doctor.
Yeah, well, there's even statistics on this. Two different people can go to the doctor and they get a cancer diagnosis, and he'll tell each person, well, you have 6 months to live. The person who believes this, he may not even make it 6 months. But then you have another personality type. He's like, you know what? Screw you. You can't tell me how long I'm going to live. And they don't take it to heart. And some of these people live for years. There's even a study, or not a study, but that we're talking about that guy. He was Italian. He came to America, he wanted to be American. He got a cancer diagnosis when he was maybe 50. They said you're going to be dead in 6 months. He decides he'll just go back to Italy. He went back to Italy and he started living more, like a human, like more community, fresher food. And he started working in his garden every day. He's still alive, like 40 years later. He's still alive because the body got rid of the cancer because he went back to a more natural way of living. But also, when Schultz was talking about this, even say a doctor or anybody else said, well, you have cancer, there's nothing you can do. And if you take this to heart, your immune system actually starts to get weaker and shut down. It's like that study I shared with you from Italy. They did a study. I'll go ahead because it's related. They took blood samples from participants, put them under a microscope, and they were observing the macrophages, which are the immune cells that gobble up the bacteria. And they put the participants in another room and they were observing the blood on the microscope. So they put a comedy on and the people started laughing and having fun. And the macrophages woke up and they started devouring the bacteria. But then they showed them a horror movie In a horror movie, it makes you scared and fearful. When they did that, the bacteria started to attack the macrophages. It was
Wow.
beating the immune system,
Mhm.
emotion, and mindset. You see what I mean? If you're
Yeah.
trying to heal something and you are in a state of lack or fear,
Mhm.
your immune system, you're turning your immune system off. But if you become happy and hopeful, your immune system will work harder for you because you have a will to live in that state. You see, I mean, nobody wants to live in fear all the time, but we do want to live happy, don't we?
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that. Yes, and we hear so much about childhood trauma and little t trauma and capital T trauma and things like that from the ACEs studies and longevity and things like that. And it seems like, well, everyone has some sort of trauma, but what did you have in your background, or what did I have in my background? Those kinds of things. What did they do? How do you get over those and overcome your past trauma and break free from that? And I think, like in childhood trauma, a lot of it has to do with that's the formative years, and we don't think about that. But my grandmother died recently, and the last year or so, she was just constantly talking about growing up and her brothers and sisters and playing and walking to school and telling me all about her school and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, she was 103. How do you remember all this stuff, from first grade and fourth grade and all that? I'm like, I have trouble remembering all that stuff. But I think because it's the formative years, she just has so many strong memories from back then. And she grew up and she was in a safe home. And so she can remember a lot of those things. I know if you grew up where maybe you weren't safe, you have a lot of blanks in your memory. And so I know for me, I don't remember a lot of my childhood. There's lots of blanks. And I, going into mindset, we have to realize even if you did have all those traumas and those things in your past, where are you now? Are you safe where you are now? The mind wants you to be safe. And so it's learning to pause throughout the day, like you said earlier, but also reminding your body, I am safe, I'm healthy, I'm strong. And even if it's not entirely true, maybe you're saying I'm healthy even though you're fighting some sort of illness. Telling my body, I am safe, I am healthy, I'm strong. The body doesn't know that that's not necessarily true. But maybe you're saying, well, that's not living in integrity, whatever. I'm healing. I am safe. I am healing. I am strong. Just repeating things like that, taking those pauses throughout the day and having some sort of affirmation that aligns with you, that sounds like something you would say that is true to your voice and your mindset, and practicing that throughout the day, pausing, can be so transformative.
I'm glad you brought that up because we were talking about before the podcast today that I think you can actually train yourself. That's what you're doing. Train yourself to be a calmer person. If you're uptight, my therapist talked about what was it called? Oh, of course, I can't think of the word. Anyway, you have a negative thought, but then you teach yourself to immediately change the negative thought to something positive in your mind.
Right.
And you do this over and over until it becomes second nature, kind of like riding a bicycle. It becomes a habit. You never forget how to do it. And so that's one of the things he taught me. And then living in the moment, living in the moment. One of my meditation teachers taught me this because it was true. He said, look, you only have this moment right now.
Yeah.
That's all you really have as a human. You're only guaranteed right now. So just focus on that and be calm in that moment. So yeah, it's about living in the moment and training yourself to immediately attack. No, I don't want to say attack, immediately replace the negative thought with a positive thought. And positive affirmations over time do build a more resilient nervous system. And that's what we're about. healing the nervous system, building a resilient nervous system. We're not supposed to be stressed out. We're not supposed to be every little thing makes our stomach start bloating. We have to go to the bathroom. I mean, this is a dysregulated nervous system, but you can heal just like anything else. You can heal the nervous system to go back to normal regulation to where maybe we had a tough day or we got some bad news, but it doesn't immediately throw us into fight or flight. You see, we have to, and this takes time. It's going to take practice. I'm talking to me too, because I'm still not where I need to be with my nervous system. So
I think it's a constant learning and relearning and practicing there. I think
it
that,
is.
yes. And it's funny, we were talking before we got on the call. I I studied Kabbalah and I studied Qigong, and then I also studied the Bible. I grew up in a Christian home, and it's strange how all three are always aligned. You know, whatever I'm studying, all three are always focusing on being in the present, focusing on positivity. You know, and I love like in Qigong. So you were talking about your teacher, your therapist sharing with you. In Qigong, we focus on where am I now? Where am I? Where am I right now? Because that is, like you said, that one moment in time when we think back to the past, yesterday, like even just a minute ago, the way I remember a minute ago and the way you remember a minute ago isn't the same. And we were both right here a minute ago. And so when we reflect, sometimes we're not getting the whole picture. And when we're thinking ahead, we're predicting the future. We can't tell what's going to happen. We can only tell where we are right now. Where am I right now? And so I love that you shared that, because that's really the only time we have. And so you can choose, right now, I can choose, how I want to feel, which sounds crazy. We can be sad and depressed and upset, and it's hard to think I can change how I feel. But if you can think of something that you're grateful for, maybe something horrible is going on for you right now, but if you can just think about something positive in your life, that can be just a great way to help you move on to the next step. And if each moment you're thinking about something else, you can't, I mean, maybe somebody out there can. To me, I cannot run out of things that I'm grateful for. Once you start thinking about the things that you're grateful for, it just goes on and on and on, right? And so doing
Yes.
those things. And like I said, setting your mind, if you're trying to keep your body strong and healthy, I'm strong and healthy, or I'm healing or I'm recovering, and focusing on that. Because otherwise, like you said, if you're telling myself I'm sick, I have this disease, don't claim the disease. I might have received this diagnosis, but right. But because you're always here to listen to hear about plants. Let's talk about some plants that can help. I'm thinking of adaptogens that can help us to adapt to stressors, because we do live in such a stressful world, and because learning to set your mind, do breaks throughout the day, those kinds of things may be new to you. Let's talk about some adaptogens that can be helpful.
Well, one of my favorites is rhodiola. And the interesting thing about rhodiola is, the Russians, I go back, I had to talk about exercise for a second. The Russians are some of the greatest weightlifters. And they found with their elite athletes, if they gave them rhodiola, they were able to adapt to the stress of weightlifting better. They had lower cortisol and they were able to heal faster because they had less cortisol. So it's so powerful. Even when they're doing these rigorous weightlifting routines, rhodiola can still help the body release less cortisol. So that's a really good one to start with.
Yeah, I think so too. I love that one. I also like Siberian ginseng or eleuthero. That's another one that's very similar. Can really help with regulating the stress response and restoring helping with adapting.
And here's one that we hear about a lot, ashwagandha, and I've seen research on ashwagandha now. It actually increases your testosterone levels and it also helps you recover from weight training. The reason I bring up weight training a lot is because weight training like can be very stressful, but these herbs are able to help you deal with the stress. So if you're just dealing with everyday stressors like, stuck in traffic or whatever, it's going to help you a lot there too. And it's going to help you, it will help your mindset because if you have a lot of cortisol, it's really hard to calm the mind down, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Another one that I really love is Tulsi or holy basil. It smells fabulous, it tastes delicious, and it's very, very calming, and one that you can have throughout the day. And so I have it in bedtime teas, but it's something that's great to have earlier in the day as well.
And then we would combine some of these adaptogens with herbs that actually help our nerves, help us calm down. And God knows I've used these before. So a really good one for me is I love chamomile. I love it. It's like I put it in all my formulas for relaxation, and it's really good. It works really good as a tea.
I love that one too. And my favorite is lemon balm. And so I can pair lemon balm with all sorts of things. And it's also very antiviral, which is a great way to roll into the next thing. When we're under a lot of stress, then that can lead to things like viral reactivity. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah.
Reactivating dormant viruses. And so we hear about like childhood illnesses. If you had chicken pox, you had mono, things like that. Sometimes they can be stored in our body. And when we're under a lot of stress, those viruses are reactivated. And so some people get shingles, some people end up EBV, chronic EBV, cytomegalovirus, candida overgrowth. All those things can happen when we are under a lot of stress. And other than candida, the other ones are all viruses that lemon balm can help with. Lemon balm is very antiviral, and especially with any of the herpes type viruses. And so people who have get cold sores and stuff like that, lemon balm can be very helpful, but it's also very, very calming. And there have been studies that show it is just as effective as anxiety medications. But why don't we hear about that? Because they can't market and what is it, trademark lemon balm,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so we're not going to hear a lot of studies about that. And so I love lemon balm. It's wonderful for stress and anxiety. It tastes very lemony and it's just perfect to add to many, many different herbs.
And then I like lavender.
Oh, yeah.
Lavender is another herb that has been studied like you're talking about. They did a study, people that were about to get a dental procedure. You know how stressful that can be. Well, they gave one group lavender and another group an anti-anxiety medication. And the lavender group got just as good results. So it worked just as good as the pharmaceutical drug to
Uh,
relieve dental anxiety. So I think combining these adaptogens with some of these herbs that calm your nervous system, it's perfect. I mean, especially if you're going through a lot of stressful times and you're having trouble getting control of yourself again. You can get into the weeks where your anxiety is out of control, and some of these herbs can help you come back to earth a little bit.
yes, yes. I really like that. Yes, bringing it all back together, letting your mind, setting your mind, restoring your mind, and also restoring your microbiome is very important. And how do you do that? Fiber, all the little bacteria in our gut, they feed on different types of fiber. So my number one rule is always read the ingredients. Number two is always eat the rainbow. And so eating a variety of different colors and of plant foods, increasing the quantity and things like that is going to help increase that microbiome, which is where your immune system lies. And so this is a very fitting timing for this podcast because we're getting ready to move into cold and flu season, which just also happens to be the holiday season, kicking off with Halloween, which is the candy season and sugar season. And so they're kind of all related. But we have to remember it's not just cold and flu. So when people get sick with these viruses year round. So it's something that we need to pay attention to often, getting quality sleep, eating healthy plant foods, using these adaptogens, which medical disclaimer, we did not give. We're not telling you to use these herbs and herbal remedies. Do your own due diligence. Make sure they are safe and right for you. This is for educational purposes only. But doing all of those things in a calm manner, not adding it to your to-do list and check off list. Just what's one small thing you can do today to make things better for you than yesterday.
I'm glad you touched on that because, like we're talking about at the beginning, your mindset, your stress, it all can either strengthen the immune system or weaken it. And so, I mean, I know people that are nervous wrecks all the time, and they get sick a lot more. They catch things easier. So,
Yes, yes. So naturally, because this is about natural healing, if you want to strengthen your immune system naturally, it's not just herbs and supplements, it's creating a full environment that is safe and nourishing and full of love and joy. Remember, you were made of love. You are here to spread love, give love to everyone around you. So, food first for your nutrients, herbs to support your adrenals and your stress response, and setting your mind for regulation. That's how we can help the body to heal itself. Yes. So, anything you would like to add before we wrap up? We're running out of time.
no, I think that we covered a lot of ground and a lot of I think we got the point across about, well, it all starts with the mind. It took me years to realize that, but it all starts with the mind.
Yes. Yes. So, be gentle with yourself, feed your body well, nourish your mind, surround yourself with things that feel good, and spread love. If you'd like to work with us, you can learn more from me at holisticjen.com. That's with a W. I spell holistic with a W. Or Dan at danthenaturalman.com. We both have group programs and we work with clients one on one as well. So thank you for listening. Comment below. Let us know what you liked or didn't agree with or want to hear next. We always love to hear from you, no matter what you have to say. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and share it with those you love. And we hope to talk to you again next week.